Hi everyone, my name is Mark Gerner and I'm going to tell you what you need to know and give you an introduction about permissions in the Common Data Service. Now, I've heard there are a lot of people joining from the Office 365 and SharePoint side. You might not be familiar with the Common Data Service at this point, but hang in there. I'm going to tell you what you need to know about the Common Data Service in the Microsoft Power Platform. I'm going to do a short introduction about myself and then quickly open up a browser because we've got a lot to discuss in only half an hour. So first, I'm a Dynamics 365 solution architect and I work for about 8 years now with previously called Microsoft Dynamics CRM version 2011. I've even worked a little bit with version 4. And Microsoft Dynamics 365 is the previous Power Platform. Basically, Microsoft stripped Dynamics 365 or Dynamics CRM to only keep the platform and to remove all Dynamics things from there, and there you got the Power Platform. So also I work with Business Central, which is the ERP side of the Dynamics 365 suite, and I specialize in integration. So with integration, I mean all kind of integration with all kind of software things all around the world, both with the Power Platform and Business Central. Also, I work with a small Microsoft partner in the Netherlands called Luma Business Solutions. We are with 8 consultants working around the country to serve everybody that needs something that can be done with either Dynamics 365 or the Power Platform. Now, if you want to reach out to me after this demo or after this session, you can find me on LinkedIn, Mark Gerner, or I've got a blog, dynamics365blog.io. I also have a Twitter account, but I have to admit I'm not very good with Twitter, so you can better reach me out on LinkedIn. Now let's see what we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you about CDS, about what it is, about a database, entities, fields, and records. And after that, I'll switch over to permissions. And permissions will have to do everything about ownership of records, users, and security roles. Now, within the Power Platform and within CDS or Common Data Service, there's much more to do with security than just users and security roles. But since we've got only half an hour, I'm going to keep it only simple, and then that's why we only do users and security roles. If you already know how to do that, if you're already familiar with security roles, then this might be a little bit boring for you. But let's see what we can do. Now, let me open up a browser. As you can see, or as you might have noticed, I've got 2 browsers open. One is Edge, and on the Edge side, I'm going to log in as the administrator of the Microsoft Power Platform. So I'm going to move to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, and I'm going to log in as the administrator of this tenant. This is an administrator within the Power Platform. It's got a global administrator role in Office 365. Please keep in mind that roles or what you are used to security in Office 365 or in SharePoint are not anywhere near security in the Power Platform or in the Common Data Service, because security is all done within the Common Data Service, so you can't manage the security from Office 365 side. Now, when I log into the admin center of Power Platform, I've got a couple of options here. What we're going today, we're going to the environments. So if you would create a new environment, you create a new environment where you can create apps, of course, because that's what the Power Platform is all about. Now, if I would create, say, new, I can choose a name. And on the bottom, I have this option that says create a database for this environment. I can set this to yes, and now it will create a database for me. That database is the Common Data Service. And the Common Data Service database is not an empty database. That's what you really need to keep in mind. The Common Data Service comes with all kinds of tables and some data already in there. And this model that is in there with accounts, with contacts, with activities like phone calls, emails, or letters that you can store in this database. that is called the Common Data Model. So the Common Data Model is the basic set of tables, fields, and options to store in the Common Data Service, which is the database. Now let me cancel this and let me open up this environment that I already got. So I've got an environment and I want to know what entities, or sorry, what tables are already in there. It's good to know when I speak of entities, that is basically tables, because in the Common Data Service, we call the tables, we call them entities. Now, if I want to see what's already in there, I need to go to another website that is called make.powerapps.com. So on the left side here, I've got a couple of options again. One of them is data, and let's go to the entities. Now the entities is the list of tables that you already get when you install or create a new fresh database. As you can see, that's quite a lot. And these ones that you see on the screen now are only the tables that are used for default purposes. This is the common data model, but they're not the only one. They're not the only entities or tables that are in there. If I would open up, not the default view, but the all view, that will mean I get all entities in there. Now there is a lot more. The other ones that you see here are all entities which store system settings. Not only system settings, but also data that is involved in, for instance, other things from the Power Platform. So data that comes with flows or data that comes with the AI Builder. And if I see here, there are AI Builder datasets, AI Builder dataset file. These are all tables. It's important to know that all these tables already exist because you will see them directly in the dynamics or in the security roles that come out of the box with the Common Data Service as well. So let me go back to the default view. Let me open, for instance, the account entity. And it opens in a tab called Fields. These are the fields that Microsoft populates already for you. One is a name, because if you have an account, you want to have a name. And one is a number, because that's a very common used thing. And you've got the option to store two addresses here. For instance, a visiting address and a postal address. Now, there's one field in particular that you need to know about. And I'm going to scroll down, and that is this one. It's called the owner field. Now the owner field is a special field because the owner field determines what kind of rights you have on a specific record. Let's say you want to build an app and you want to use an app for registered people that joined the Power Platform online conference. Now you want to know which company they come from and what their name, etc. is, so their personal data. If you would store that information on the account entity, then in this case, the owner of the record decides if you are allowed to see the record. I'm going to get there. I know it's quite confusing at this point, but let me explain a little bit more about this. Let me go back, or let me go forward actually to my Google Chrome browser, and let me log in to home.dynamics.com. This time I'm not going to log in as the administrator, but as the user Megan. So Megan is just a user, not an administrator, so she might not see everything. When I go to home.dynamics.com, I see the apps that are available for me. And here you see the Power Platform Online Conference app. When I open this one, I see a list of accounts and I see contacts. These are the data entities that I have rights on. Now on the top you see my active accounts, which means when I'm logged in as Megan, these are the 3 accounts that Megan is owner of. So if I would open the account, for instance, Fabricam Incorporated, on the top right, you see that the owner is Megan herself. Now let me go back to the accounts. And let me open up some else than my active accounts, but let's go to all active accounts. Now, as you can see, I see a lot more. So probably Megan has got more rights than just to view her own records. Let's see to Alpine Ski House. So Alpine Ski House is the owner's Mark Gerner, which is the administrator on this tenant. Now, there's something else you see here as well. On the top, there is read only. You don't have access to edit this record. That wasn't on the account form where Megan was the owner from herself. So what I'm guessing here is that Megan is entitled to a security role within the Common Data Service where she is allowed to view both her own accounts and accounts that are on others' names, but she is allowed to only edit her own accounts and not the accounts that are on the name of someone else. So to prove you, these fields are empty. There's no way I can edit these. Now let's go back to accounts. It opens up my active accounts again. And let's open, well, this time Adventure Works. And there is not this gray message, but I can change this. For instance, let's say lumenbs.nl. I can save it and it saves perfectly fine. So this means Megan is able to change her own accounts, but she's not able to change the accounts that are on someone else's name. In this case, the name of the administrator. Now I want to show you, or I want to see what Megan's security roles are. Now I'll go back to the Power Platform Admin Center where I already opened up the environment where this app is in, that is Contoso. Now on the top, I've got the settings option. And with the settings, we've got a tab called users and permissions. Now there is a lot to see here, business units, hierarchy security, positions, security walls, which we are going to dive in soon, teams and users. Now again, there is a lot more than just users and security roles when it comes to permissions in the Common Data Service, but since we have limited time, I'm going to keep it to users and security roles. When I open users tab, you notice probably there are 5 users in this environment. 2 of them are important for now. One is Mark Gerner, which is the administrator, which I'm logged in as at the moment, and the other one is Megan. We're going to focus on Megan. Now, when I click Megan, I get another option here that's called Manage Roles. And in this option, I can see which roles Megan is entitled to. Now, she's only entitled to the Power Platform Online Conference role, but I know for sure you can add more roles here. So this extra roles, this set of roles that you can add to a user, they just combine every right that is in there. So let's say you entitle someone or a user, in this case Megan, to the Power Platform Online Conference role, where she's added as a user who can edit accounts. That's one thing. Then when she's got another role where she's entitled to the usage of contacts, that's second. So if you entitle Megan to both security roles, then what basically happens is she gets all the options that are in there combined. At this point, Megan only got one security role, so we're going to focus on that. So let me go back to the Power Platform Admin Center and open up the security roles in this case. Now there are 11 security roles, and one of them is a Power Platform Online Conference Center role. Let me open it up. And as you can see, it's got a name, it's got a business unit. I'm not going to focus on business unit now, but there are tabs on top that are at most important. So let me go open up the first tab. And now you see a lot of information on the screen. Let me widen this up so you can see everything. On the left side, you see entities, all entities. These are entities that are in the Common Data Service. So remember the list that I showed you before of all entities that come with the Common Data Service by default. These are, most of them are in here. It is important that when you start creating a security role, you don't just disable all security and start working with it, because what happens then is that your user can't log in anymore. As I said before, there are a lot of entities where where the Common Data Service stores system settings. If the user hasn't got any rights to show those system settings or to read those system settings or even edit them sometimes, well, the user simply cannot log in. So what I usually do with a new security role, I open up the default role and I start editing that role. Now let me quickly show you what the default role is. It's pretty easy. It's a Common Data Service user. So I'm going to teach you a little trick. As you can see, there is a lot here that is already clicked. There's green and yellow check marks in it. What you can do is you can set actions and then copy a role. So when you copy a role, you copy it, and from that point on, you're going to work with it. Back to the security role. Now on top left here, you see the entity account, and that was what we were looking at with Megan a couple of minutes ago. So Megan was able to read all accounts. As you can see, that's right. Because on the read top, on the account level, it's totally green. So green is the highest level of permissions someone can get. So on the account, reading is permitted totally green. So totally green means it doesn't matter who owns this record, everything in the whole Common Data Service can be read by someone with this permission. So with everything, I mean all records within this entity, which is the account entity. Now there are more options here. We've got create, write, and delete. As you can see, the create, write, and delete are not green at all. They've got a quarterly filled of the circle here in yellow. Now, if we go to the bottom of the security screen here, we've got a little bit of agenda what the options mean. So on the left, you see here a red circle, and it's not filled at all. That is non-selected, which means the user with this security profile or the security role does not have permission to do that at all. This means at this point, we've got the account. If I would disable this by clicking on it until it becomes a red circle, I cannot create an account. Now the next one is called user. This is the quarterly filled circle in yellow. If I click on this, this means the user is the owner of the record. So I can create an account only when I am the owner of the account. This means that when I would create an account and I would create it for another owner, so for instance, Megan would create an account and it would set the owner to me, to Mark Herner, then I'd probably get an error saying that's not allowed. Because again, this is what you need to do. This is what you are not, where you don't have permission to do. The same goes for write, and this actually makes sense. On the right and the right option here for accounts, it says it's quarterly filled with a yellow. So that means that the user, which in this case Megan is herself, is able to change or write data on accounts that she is a owner of. So when we were looking at accounts that she's not an owner of, where the system administrator of it was an owner of, at that point we got this gray area on top saying you're not allowed to edit data on this form. So that makes sense. Now we've also got delete, and delete is, to my opinion, the one thing that you should always turn off for all users within your Common Data Service for everything. So I'm going to turn this off. The reason why is because when you delete something from the Common Data Service, it's actually gone. So you see here a couple of more options. You've got append to, assign, and share. Now append and append to are kind of complex if you don't know the Common Data Service. So I'm going to step over that, and my suggestion is you would just leave it as it is. Assign and share on the other end are far more easy. Assign means I can assign my record that is on my service or where I'm an owner of to another owner. You can see again, this is a yellow option, quarterly filled. That means when I am the owner of the record, I can assign it to someone else. It also means that when I want to assign a record to someone else that is not my ownership. Now on the bottom here, you see also the business unit and the parent-child business unit, as we're not going to cover business unit at this point, again, because of the time limitation. I'm just going to skip that. The two most important ones for you as a beginner with the Common Data Service are non-selected, user, and organization. Now let's see if we can change something. Again, let me go back. I'm logged in as Megan and I can edit this file. Now let me go back and let me open up an account that is not on my name, for instance, Alpine Skiing House. As you can see on the top, read only, you don't have access to edit this record. Now let me go quickly back to the security role. I want to make sure that Megan can change the records that are not on her name, because, well, we are all facing the same customers. So let me change this to right. Let me save this security role. And let me go back to Megan. Let me refresh the page. And as you can see, I press refresh and the option, gray option here is moved. And I can actually change data here now. I can enter a fax number. I can enter a ticker symbol, or I can change the address. This is good. Now let's try something else. When I click new and I want to create a new option here, it says on the top right Megan Bowen because I'm logged in as Megan Bowen. But if we saw back to the security role, the account entity is for create set to user, a yellow option that has only quarterly filled. Let me go back to Megan. I want to create an account, let's say Microsoft. I only need to fill in a name. I can save it, and it's saved. Now let me try to create a new account. So let me click new. Let's save Google. Delete this one and select Mark Herner, which is the administrator. Now when I would hit save, there we go. Access is denied. You do not have enough privileges to access these objects. Contact your system administrator. So basically what it says now is that I don't have enough rights. That was good because Megan is only entitled or permitted to store or create new accounts on her own name. Let me click OK. Let me go back now and do the account create to full. So in this case, she doesn't have to own the record anymore. It just works like that. Let me click save. And I'm going to go back. Now, please remind, I didn't refresh this page whatsoever. When I click save, it will save the record. And that is because security roles in the Common Data Service work instant. You don't have to refresh anything. Now let's click save. There we go. It's safety account. This is Google. Now I gave you a quick demonstration and a quick insight to security roles. This is just the beginning because as I said already a couple of times in my session, there is so much more to know about security in the Common Data Service. You don't have only users, you also have teams, you have business units, you have hierarchical security, you have field security profiles. There is so much more to know. But this gives you a quick insight and this gives you already something to start working with. Enjoy the rest of your sessions today. I heard they're going to be harder and harder during the day, so keep focused and go to the next session. Enjoy!